It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Prime Ticket presents the Dodgers as they take on the Cincinnati Reds. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Friday evening to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers-Reds, Game 2 of the 4-game series. The Reds, a very good ball club, trying to win their 60th game. The Dodgers have won 53. Dodgers lead Arizona by a half a game, and the Reds are 5 back of the St. Louis Cardinals. The pitching tonight, David Bailey, better known to the world as Homer Bailey, one of 4 active pitchers with 2 no-hitters under their belts. That would be Mark Burley, along with Roy Halladay and Justin Verlander. Bailey is 5-9 this year. 7 of his 9 losses have taken place on the road, and he is 4-2 lifetime against the Dodgers. On the mound for the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw, he is 9-6, and for Clayton, 1-1 against Cincinnati in his lifetime. Both of those decisions back in 2011. By the way, Arizona trying to catch the Dodgers playing San Diego. Padres have beaten Arizona 6 of 9. We'll get to the ball game. We'll have it all coming up and a lot more right after this. Dodger Baseball on Prime Ticket is brought to you by the Hyundai 100,000 Reasons event, now through July 31st. By AT&T U-verse TV. Check availability at 1-800-PICK-ATT. And by Jack in the Box. Go big at a Jack in the Box near you with Jack's new Big Stack Burger.
Hey, and welcome back, everybody, as we are moments away from Dodger baseball. Game 2 of 4, the Reds and the Dodgers. Cincinnati, very good team, right there in the wild card hunt. Dodgers in first place in the NL West with Steve Lyons, Patrick O'Neill. Clayton Kershaw takes the hill for the Blue here tonight. If you're on the other side, you're Dusty Baker and you're the Reds, what approach, what's going through their mind as they game plan against one of the best lefties in the game?
Call in sick. That's the way I do it against Clayton. A lot of guys do that. When you look at the lineups that have to face Clayton Kershaw, generally there's guys in that lineup that aren't their everyday players. Dusty Baker went with most of his everyday players, and the guys that he thinks has a chance to get a hit, some of his lefties are out of there, but the big lefties are in that lineup, and that's where Clayton really has to dominate. When you look at what he's been able to do, he's 4-2 after a Dodger loss, and that's what you want your ace to come out there and shut it down. 2 of those losses came when this team was a bad ball club. They weren't going to score him any runs. It wouldn't have mattered how well he pitched. But you have to shut down Chu, Votto, and Bruce. Votto's nearly a 300 hitter against left-handed pitching.
Yeah, those are the lefties, but that's that batting average against 130. No home runs. So good matchups to look for here tonight. Puig and the Blue. Dodgers next. Then that's the call. We'll see you after the game.
Between the Dodgers and the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds 5 games back of the Cardinals, looking for their 60th win of the year. The Dodgers have won 53 in their division, and they're a half a game in front of Arizona. They are going to hear footsteps. Arizona leading San Diego 2-0 in the second inning. Aaron Hill doubled in a run against Eric Stokes, and then Martin Prado got a base hit. So it is 2-0 Arizona. We'll take a look at Dusty Baker's card, and it's filled out this way. Shin-Soo Choo in center field. Chris Heisey, who was a pinch hitter last night, in left. Joey Votto at first. Brandon Phillips at second. And Jay Bruce in right field. Todd Frazier at third. Zach Posar at the shortstop. Corky Miller behind the plate. And Homer Bailey on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw, 9-6. 1-1 lifetime. Brief numbers. They all occurred back in 2011. So Shin-Soo Choo, young man from Busan in South Korea, leading off, and he takes a breaking ball strike and a count on 1. So Kershaw with a magnificent earned run average of 2.01 comes right back, strike 1, and this one's in the dirt. 1 ball and 1 strike. A little bit about Shin-Soo Choo. Number 1, he can be a problem 5 home runs he has hit in the first inning. So they have to pay attention right at the very start of the game. Chu waiting at the plate, left-hand batter. The 1-1 pitch on the way, swung on and missed. 1-2. Couple of other things about Chu. He walks a lot. He was confused on the base paths last night, so it's no surprise that he has been picked off the bases 5 times this year. He swings, fouls a pitch away, and the count stays 1-2. He is also a spearhead of the attack. He has scored 38 runs for Cincinnati on the road. So Chu hitting .290, 14 home runs, 5 of them in the first inning, 33 runs batted in. 1-2 pitch on the way, a breaking ball hit by the mound. To his left is Hanley Ramirez, and throws him out. So 1 away and a ground ball to short. We'll take a look at the Dodgers with the leather. And it's Gonzalez and Mark Ellis, Ramirez and Uribe, Crawford, Ethier and Puig, and A.J. Ellis behind the plate. So 1 out. And now Chris Heisey coming up. Heisey checked in last night as a pinch hitter in the 8th inning and struck out. Stayed in the game and struck out again. So a tough 0 for 2 for him last night. Right-hand batter. Kershaw comes after him. Fastball strike. And the count 0-1. Heisey hitting .223. He has been playing very well in the month of July, hitting .316. 5 home runs, 12 runs batted in. Another fastball foul back, and that was a good one in on the hands at 93 miles an hour. So Chris Heisey, in 19 plate appearances and 12 starts, he was on the disabled list as late as the 25th of June. The next pitch of the right-hand hitter is away, and a 1-2 count to Chris Heisey. He had a hamstring problem, familiar words to the Dodgers. So Heisey with 1 out, waiting on deck, Joey Votto, and the 1-2 pitch on the way, off speed and missed high. That changeup only 73 miles an hour, so that's 20 miles an hour less than that hard fastball. 2-2 the count to Chris Heisey. Kershaw reading Ellis into the windup, and the 2-2 pitch on the way, swung on and missed. So Heisey's had 3 at bats so far in the series, and he struck out all 3 times. Tough going. Now Joey Votto coming up, looking for career number 150 home runs. Votto, a marvelous first baseman and a solid hitter, batting .321, 16 home runs, 47 runs batted in, commands so much respect. He's walked 76 times. So Votto, left-hand hitter, takes low, ball 1. Made a leaping one-hand stab of a line drive by Puig last night to take the hit away from him, and then made a dazzling backhanded stop on yet another ground ball. The 1-0 pitch, missing low, ball 2. Votto leads the club and is number 1 in the league in runs scored on the road. He scored 41. He walks 17% of the time. That's number 1. He rarely pops the ball up to the infield. Big, strong left-hand batter. Kershaw ready in the 2-0 pitch, and Joey backs away, but it's in for a strike. As a left-handed batter, Votto is number 2. He has 118 hits. He has 7 of his home runs against left-hand pitching. And the 2-1 pitch checks low, and it's a 3-1 count to Joey Votto. So Votto waiting on a 3-1 count. Waiting behind him would be Brandon Phillips. And the 3-1 pitch is swung on, whacked to the gap, but it's slicing. It's still going to go to the wall. Votto is on his way for 2. Crawford gets the ball back in, and Joey pulls up with a line drive double to left center field. For Votto,
second baseman number 4.
That would be his 20th double to go along with 16 home runs and 47 runs batted in. Of course, anything solid that Votto does is no surprise. He's been an all-star 4 straight years. So Votto, a 2-out double to left center, and the batter now will be Brandon Phillips. Phillips, by the way, is in his most productive spot. That's the first inning. He has 19 RBIs in the first inning this year, and he has Votto at second base and 2 out. So Brandon checks in, waiting. Right-hand batter wiggling the bat over his head. Swings at the first pitch, hits it foul outside of first, and the count 0-1. Phillips not only picking up RBIs in the first inning, he has 49 of his runs batted in on the road. 49 of 81 ribbies on the road. So Brandon, right-hand batter, another all-star. Phillips, all-star 3 times in the last 4 years. Strike one pitch is swung on and missed, and the count 0-2 to Brandon Phillips. Phillips posting great numbers, 407 average with men in scoring position. Right-hand hitter waiting. Kershaw very deliberate, understandably so. Votto pretty good lead at second. Phillips takes a fastball just off the plate, and that was 94. Of course, it's one thing to throw 94. Last night we were looking at Aroldis Chapman throwing 102, which reminds us Homer Bailey, who will be pitching against the Dodgers tonight. They tell me he's the hardest thrower in the starting rotation. He'll get it up to 97 and 98. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Kershaw deals low, pushed out in front of the plate by Ellis. New ball put in play, and a 2-ball, 2-strike count. So Brandon Phillips, very tough hitter, trying to pick up Votto at second base. Brandon just 2 RBIs behind the leadership, 4 runs batted in. Kershaw very careful into that full stretch, and the 2-2 pitch on the way, swung on and fouled away into the crowd behind the visitors' dugout. Just does rattle around upstairs, and the count 2-2. We're in the first inning. Shin-Sun Chu grounded out. Heisey struck out. Votto hit a 3-1 pitch for a double. And now here's Brandon Phillips on a 2-2 count. Kershaw trying to put him away. Clayton out of his stretch. Another look back at Votto. And the 2-2 pitch coming up. Phillips pulls away. It's inside at the thighs. Ball 3. On deck, the left-hand hitting right fielder Jay Bruce, who had that big hit last night, the 2-run home run against Zach Greinke to turn a 2-1 game into a 4-1 game, and eventually a Cincinnati victory. 3-2 the count to Brandon Phillips. Kershaw hands it his sides, reading Ellis. Another look back at Votto. Clayton set, and the 3-2 pitch is tapped up the middle. Behind second base goes Ellis. Off balance throw just in time. Big play by Mark Ellis, taking a base hit away from Phillips, preventing a run from scoring. No runs, 1 hit, a man left, and at the end of half an inning, no score. And Phillips takes a hit away from him, makes the big play. And now let's take a look at the Dodger lineup coming up in the bottom of the first inning. For the Dodgers, Carl Crawford, followed by Yasiel Puig, and then Adrian Gonzalez. Hanley Ramirez hits cleanup. Andre Ethier in center. A.J. Ellis behind the plate. Juan Uribe at third. Mark Ellis at second. Clayton Kershaw on the mound. On the mound for Cincinnati, his full name is David Bailey Jr., but his father's name was David, so they pinned him with his great-grandfather's name, Homer, to separate the two, and Homer's about ready, although it's a tough name for a pitcher. Carl Crawford takes low and away, ball one, 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Crawford lined out last night against Chapman, hitting .281, 5 home runs, 16 runs batted in, takes a pitch on the outside corner for a strike. As hard as Bailey throws, the key to his game is a splitter. The split finger has really made him dangerous. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball on the hands, foul back. 1-2 the count. For Homer Bailey, he has 2 no-hitters. In September last year, he beat the Pirates 1-0. July this year, he shut out the Giants 3-0. So along with Mark Burley, Roy Halladay, and Justin Verlander, they're the 4 active pitchers with 2 no-hitters. Crawford rolls one up the middle for a base hit, and the Dodgers are now in business. So Carl Crawford, a single to center, that extends his hitting streak, and it'll bring up Yasiel Puig. So the no-hitter is gone here in the first inning. Homer doesn't have to worry about that. If you wonder about no-hitters, Nolan Ryan has the most. He had 7. Sandy Koufax had 4, including a perfect game. Bob Feller had 3. Johnny Vandermeer of the Reds and Jim Maloney of the Reds had 2 no-hitters. Vandermeer's the only pitcher to have back-to-back no-hitters. Puig shows bunt, takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Yasiel hitting .379. 9 home runs, 22 runs batted in, little 4-game hitting streak, and on deck, Adrian Gonzalez. So Bailey hands it his sides, checking his catcher, a veteran catcher indeed, in Corky Miller, who is 37 years old. Corky, who grew up around here, good to see him still able to play and in a starting role tonight. Strike 1 pitch on the way, and Bailey deals, fastball low and inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Homer Bailey. He's 6'3", 225 from LaGrange, Texas. He was a Reds #1 pick back in 2004. Homer out of a stretch, looks over at Crawford, and the 1-1 pitch. Puig holds up. They're going to take a look. Swings, says first base umpire Ted Barrett, who's the crew chief. So the swing is charged on a half swing. 1-2 the count to Yasiel. One other thing about Puig and reliever Aroldis Chapman, they're both from Cuba. We had a chance with Dusty Baker to talk briefly with Chapman, and he said he never faced Puig in Cuba, nor does he know him at all. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Instead, a throw to first. Crawford back on the bag. Carl has stolen 10 out of 13. Corky looking over to Dusty Baker to see about a pitch out. Bailey out of his stretch. Right hander ready, very deliberate. The 1-2 pitch. Puig takes high, and they count 2 balls and 2 strikes. The Yasiel Puig, who was quiet for a few days following the All-Star game, but is right back on the beam again. Puig last night had 2 hits and was robbed of a third, a line drive and a leaping catch by Joey Votto. 2-2 pitch on the way. Bailey, a high set, comes to his hitter, swung on, hard ground ball to short, bobbled there. They get a force, but that's all. If the ball is handled cleanly by Cozart, they might get the DP, maybe, but Zach bobbled it, and Puig turns it into just a force play, and the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. Cozart has been out of the lineup, didn't play last night. He's had a bad leg from beating foul balls off it, and he also had a sore hip. So he didn't appear last night, but he's back in the lineup and playing now. So 1 out. Puig at first. Adrian Gonzalez checking in. Adrian hitting .301, 15 home runs, 64 runs batted in. No score, bottom of the first inning. And with Puig going, the throw down is high, but the tag is made anyway. A good play by Cozart. So Corky is able to get his man, and Puig is nailed. For Yasiel, not really knowing the movements anyway, so he's now stolen 6 out of 10. High throw, but a quick tag by Cozart, and that's the answer. So we have 2 down, 0-1 to count to Adrian Gonzalez. Miller shows while he's in there, even though at 37, and Corky takes off the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike. So the Reds had a 2-out double by Votto, and then Phillips looked like a base hit taken away by Mark Ellis. 1-1 pitch is swung on and fouled. 1-2. Dodgers have Puig hit into a force play, thrown out trying to steal, and Gonzalez up there. 1-2. Adrian Gonzalez, good history against Homer Bailey. He is 8 for 15 with 5 home runs. Bailey looks down the barrel. Now he's ready. 1-2 pitch to Adrian, swung on, line foul into the far corner of the Dodger dugout, and it winds up out in shallow left field. Bailey has allowed 10 home runs. That would be the least on the starters. Leake has allowed 14, Latos 11, Arroyo, whom we'll see later, 17, and Bailey just 10. All right, the 1-2 pitch on the way, and Adrian holds up. It's low and inside, and the count runs now 2 balls and 2 strikes. Homer Bailey had his no-hitter celebration down pat, just like his idol Nolan Ryan. Right-hander ready, comes back to the plate, and is a ground foul. There's not an accident that Homer Bailey wears number 34. That was the number worn with grace and distinction by Nolan Ryan with his 7 no-hitters. And being a kid from Texas, 34 it is. The 2-2 pitch on the way. Adrian swings, hits a little ground ball to Votto. He'll hang it for Bailey coming over, and that's their first inning. No runs, 1 hit, nobody left, and at the end of an inning, no score. And Yankees, boy, that conjures up some great images. The storied rivalry returns to Dodger Stadium Tuesday and Wednesday. Individual tickets for those games are now on sale, so you can buy your tickets right now at Dodgers.com/tickets. Second inning, no score. Jay Bruce, one of the heroes from last night, tall left-hand batter, hit an off-speed change 70 miles an hour into the left center field pavilion last night against Greinke. Fouls off the first pitch, and the count 0-1. Jay Bruce not only hangs in there well against left-handers, he's got a lot of home runs against them in his career since 2010. He has 41 home runs against left-hand pitching. Kershaw deals, and the pitch is high, 1-1. Carlos Gonzalez has 35. Joey Votto 26. Adrian Gonzalez 19. And remember, Kershaw has allowed only 18 home runs to left-handers in his career. The pitch is swung on and missed, 1-2. So you have a very talented young hitter and a very talented young pitcher. By the way, that Dodger half a game lead, Arizona is now leading San Diego 4-0 in the third inning. 1-2 pitch on the way, fastball just low. 2-2 the count to Jay Bruce. Big fella out of Beaumont, Texas. He's 6'3", 225. Number 1 pick by the Reds back in 2005. And started being an all-star last year. Waves at a breaking ball down and away and strikes out. That would be strikeout number 2 for Clayton Kershaw. And the batter now will be Todd Frazier. So Clayton with a good breaking ball, and Bruce comes up empty. And now Todd Frazier, the third baseman, checking in. Todd Frazier is a New Jersey boy from Point Pleasant. Wouldn't be surprised if that area had been hit hard by Hurricane Sandy. It's a beach area. First pitch is swung on and missed, 0-1. Todd's another big fella, 6'3", 215, a first-round pick by the Reds. Went to school at Rutgers University. The strike one pitch is inside. Todd gained national notoriety as a 12-year-old. He was the outstanding player in the 1998 Little League World Series. Tom's River team defeated Japan for the world title. Swings, nubs it foul off to the right. In that game and in that series, Frazier was a pitcher and a shortstop. He still talks about it because he said, I struck the last guy out. Everybody acting like little kids. Well, they were all 12 years old. Got home, there was a parade, nonstop interviews, cameras everywhere. At 12, quite an impressive moment in his young life. He takes low, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. He signed a letter of intent to go to Rutgers. He was going to follow in the footsteps of his older brother Jeff, but then he opted to sign on with the Reds. 2-2 pitch is swung on, hit in the air to left field. Crawford's at the other end of it. And we have 2 down in the second inning.
Shortstop number 2, Zach Kozar.
In talking about Arizona leading San Diego 4-0 in the third inning, Padres can't get by Aaron Hill, the very talented second baseman for the D-backs. Last night homered and doubled, and tonight he's already doubled in a run twice. Now the first pitch coming up to Zach Kozart, and that's low ball 1-0. Kozart a little bit banged up. He has a protective shield on his left leg. He's fouled several off that, and he also has a sore right hip. Otherwise he's great. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Big chopper wide of third. Uribe is on it and throws him out. So down go the Reds, 1-2-3, and we're heading for the bottom of the second inning. No score. game. Hanley Ramirez, Andre Ethier, and then A.J. Ellis. Mark Ellis hits 8th in the lineup. And Homer Bailey ready to go to work. Crowd applauding in the background. The image of Magic Johnson just back from his European vacation. Taking in the action as Hanley Ramirez checks in at the plate. No score. Bottom of the 2nd inning. Ramirez has not had any luck against Bailey in the past. He's just 1 for 12. And Bailey deals fastball inside under the hands. 1 ball and no strikes. We were talking about Homer Bailey pitching a no-hitter last year. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Ramirez swings, doesn't get it. 1-1. There were 7 no-hitters last year. And Bailey got the first of 2013. 1 ball and 1 strike. Homer looks in for a sign from Corky Miller. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball swung on and missed. Actually, I think that was a splitter. 1-2 the count. Ramirez started the swing and the bottom dropped out of it. We told you that Homer Bailey has been struggling on the road. He's lost 7 of his 9 defeats on the road. Here's the 1-2 pitch to Hanley Ramirez, and that's taken on the inside corner. Strike 3 called, and Ramirez angrily walks away. Alfonso Marquez, the plate umpire, watching him. Whatever he said touched a nerve. Hanley still trying to keep it in as he walks away to the dugout. Alfonso shaking his head. Couldn't believe Ramirez's reaction to the pitch. So 1 away in the 2nd inning. And the batter now is Andre Ethier. Andre Ethier is 0 for 12. And look at Alfonso Marquez is hot. Ramirez has to be quiet, but he's still grumbling. So 1 out. 2nd inning, no score. Bailey picking up his first strikeout. Ethier waits. Bailey's first pitch, splitter in the dirt. 1 ball and no strikes. Bailey, by the way, with a very good hitting ball club, has not gotten a lot of run support as he faces Ethier, hitting .272. The 1-0 pitch on the way, swung on, hit in the air, fly ball out, heading for 2, and just like that, 2 down, and the batter will be A.J. Ellis. Yeah, while Homer Bailey is pitching, during those innings, the run support he gets is 2.9 runs. Not very much. He's had a big strikeout month in July. Got Ramirez tonight. So he's had 32 strikeouts this month as A.J. Ellis checks in. A.J. who's had some big games for the Dodgers. Bailey's first pitch to him. Fastball misses. Ball 1. Fastball at 95. A.J. hitting .261. 5 home runs, 32 RBIs, but hitting .300 for a little more than 2 weeks. Takes off the plate. 2 balls and no strikes. Bailey coming into the game had 133 strikeouts. Though the right-hander ready and the 2-0 pitch on the way, and that's taken off the plate. Ball 3. Clayton Kershaw has 148 strikeouts, so you expect to see a few Ks in the scorebook tonight. Kershaw has struck out 2, Bailey 1. No score, bottom of the 2nd. 3-0 pitch, and that misses. Ball 4. So a 2-out walk to A.J. Ellis, and that'll bring up Juan Uribe. Homer Bailey against Uribe. Juan has 3 for 7 with a home run. That'll be a .429 batting average. 2 down, 2nd inning, no score. Uribe hitting .265, hitting better than .300 against the Reds in his career, including 5 home runs. Bailey at 6'3", 225, ready to deliver. And the first pitch off the plate at 93. Ball one. 1-0. Homer Bailey, down home Texas. He drives a diesel pickup truck. They tell me he wears boots and a cowboy hat. Spends his free time hunting. One of the things he hunts is wild boar. He misses inside. 2-0 the count to Uribe. Homer chases the wild boars, cuts the tusks out, keeps a collection in his room. Of course, he grew up in a 70,000 chicken, 40-acre egg farm located between LaGrange and Flatonia. Traffic must be very busy there. Here's the 2-0 pitch, and that's fouled away. 2-1 the count to Juan Uribe. But Homer said if he's not doing something important like playing baseball, he's in the woods. Homer says ever since I can remember, I was running around with a BB gun or a .22. But he eats all of the wild game he hunts. 2-1 pitch. Uribe takes low. 3-1 the count. One other thought about Bailey hunting wild boars. He said the biggest one he's ever gotten was 400 pounds. The 3-1 pitch swung on, bang to center, but Chu is at the other end of it. Boy, Uribe stung that thing. A line drive out. So Ellis, who walked, is left, and at the end of 2, no score. August 10th, the Dodgers honor the 1995 National League Rookie of the Year, Hideo Nomo. That'll be bobblehead night. The first 50,000 fans in attendance receive their own Hideo the Tornado Nomo. That'll be celebrating his no-hitter in '96. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Hideo Nomo, Ichiban, #1. Corky Miller, first ball, and he promptly bangs it into center field. That's a pretty good story for Corky. Miller, 37 years old, the oldest Reds player to start a game at catcher since 37-year-old Bob Sheffing way back in 1951. Corky is from Yucaipa, lives in Calamasa, and Corky is his name. He was named after his dad's brother-in-law, but his middle name is Abraham, and bless mothers. His mother insisted upon the middle name Abraham just in case Corky ever wanted to run for president. He could be C. Abraham Miller. All right, Corky. So Miller with a base hit, and now here's Homer Bailey. Dodgers look bunt. Homer tries to, pulls the bat back and foul tips it in the process, and the count 0-1. We're in the third, no score. Homer, Bailey, Clayton Kershaw, a little meeting about going over the first. Adrian Gonzalez talking to Clayton about coming to the plate for the bunt. The same story for Uribe. No score, top of the third. Kershaw looks over at first and goes over there. Just to remind Corky Miller, you don't expect Miller to do any running. He's been in 9 games. He has 3 runs batted in. No stolen bases. No balls and 1 strike. Kershaw ready. Here he comes. Full swing, and the ball is hit to Ellis. He feeds it to Ramirez. Gets it back to first in time for the double play. So every time you get cute, every time you decide I'm going to take the bunt off, maybe the pitcher will get lucky. Most of the time you get burned. So Bailey, who is not that much of a hitter, he did have 7 hits, but he chops one into a double play. 4-6-3, and with 2 down now, Shin-Soo Choo coming up. Choo grounded to short in the first inning. Left-hand hitting center fielder from Busan in South Korea. We have quite a bit of South Korean coverage with the presence of Choo as he swings and misses. And of course, tomorrow night in game 3 of the series, it'll be Hyun-Jin Ryu against Choo. And you can imagine the coverage tomorrow evening. Strike 1 pitch is swung on and missed, 0-2. I think the coverage tomorrow night, and the media is here right now, I think tomorrow's game will be seen in Seoul in the morning. Strike 2 pitch on the way, and Choo takes in the dirt. 1-2 the count. So of course we're accustomed to seeing heavy coverage going all the way back to Chan Ho Park. And of course the heaviest coverage, I guess, was Fernando Valenzuela with the Mexican press, followed by Hideo Nomo. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way to Choo, and he takes a curveball off the plate. I'll always remember Nomo going to the All-Star game, and the Japanese media followed him into the men's room. 2-2 the count to Shin-Soo Choo. 2-2 pitch on the way, fouled away upstairs. Sunday's game, in case you happen to be in Seoul, will be on the air at 10 a.m. in Seoul. Seoul Food. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Third inning, no score. Mr. Choo, as Baker calls him. Kershaw into the windup. Clayton deals. Swung on, fouled away off to the left, out of play. Choo is from Busan. That's exactly the area. I mean, there's a Busan Peninsula, but that's the same area. Hyun-Jin is also from Busan. So we'll have to double check the old story. Did they face each other over there? Choo swings and misses. Down he goes. Strikeout number 3 for Clayton Kershaw. No runs, 1 hit, nobody left. At the end of 2.5 innings, no score. ball game. There have been some pretty good players come through here at Dodger Stadium and make it feel like home. The best over the years, Roberto Clemente hit .377 right here. Brandon Phillips earlier last year was hitting .390 here at Dodger Stadium. Now he's at .363. Brad Hopp, remember Brad with Colorado, rangy left-hand batter. He hit .362. And the newcomer, Carl Crawford, very much at home here, is hitting .350 here at Dodger Stadium. So we go to the bottom of the third. No score in the ball game. Homer Bailey ready to go to work. Mark Ellis, Clayton Kershaw, and then Carl Crawford. Bailey has allowed one hit, the single by Crawford, and his first pitch is low. 1 ball and no strikes. Mark 276, 5 home runs, little 7-game hitting streak. And the 1-0 pitch on the way fouled off. 1 ball and 1 strike. No runs, 2 hits for the Reds. No runs, 1 hit for the Dodgers. The Reds are a terrific ball club. Make no mistake about it. They're in a very tough division, much tougher than the West. And they're trying to win their 60th game in the Central Division. The pitch picks up the inside corner to Mark, and the count 1-2. For Dusty Baker, he's got to figure out a way to beat the Cardinals. Cardinals have beaten the Reds 6 out of 9 so far this year. Pittsburgh's between the Cardinals and Cincinnati. Ground ball to the hole, rolling into right field for a base hit. Joey Votto has the first baseman's nightmare. He was way off the line, and he has to make a split decision. Do I go after the ball and have the pitcher cover, or can the second baseman make it and I go back to the bag? Well, Joey, like so many other first basemen, ran away from the ground ball, and there was no one there to grab it. So Mark Ellis comes up with a base hit. He is now hit safely in 8 straight, and the batter is Kershaw. And we will see now whether they have the bunt on with Clayton, a very good hitting pitcher. He shows the bunt, pulls the bat back, ball 1, 1-0. By the way, of course, you might not be interested in even trying to come over here now or in the 3rd inning, but tonight is officially a sellout. But more importantly, we now get word tomorrow night is also sold out. So if you don't have a ticket, we don't want you to be inconvenienced, then come over tomorrow. Kershaw gets the bunt back to Bailey, who looks at second and throws to first just in time. So Kershaw advances his man Ellis to second base, and with 1 out, Carl Crawford coming up. There are tickets available for Sunday's game, so you don't have to be shut out completely. Make your plan and be with us Sunday. So Bailey liked to go to second, then at the last minute decided, no, I better go to first. So Kershaw does his job, gets the bunt down. For Clayton, by the way, if you need a bunt, he now has a half a dozen. So Kershaw moves his man up a notch, and with 1 out, Crawford and then Puig. No score, bottom of the 3rd. Bailey deals, and the fastball is off the plate. Ball 1. It was Carl Crawford who was introduced to Aroldis Chapman last night. He had never seen him, never faced him, and he was looking at 101 and 102. He said after the game, I've never seen a man throw the ball that hard. The 1-0 pitch, off speed in there, and a 1 ball, 1 strike count. Well, Crawford held his ground, hit a line drive for the last out at Chris Heisey in left field. So Carl waiting, 1 ball and 1 strike. Bailey ready and deals. Fastball pulled. A great stop by Votto, and he wins the race to the. No, he's late. It looked like he had beaten the play, but Crawford beat him by a half a step. Oh, what a stop by Joey Votto. That's the 3rd huge play he has made in the series. This one, he winds up right by the foul line and then got up and tried to beat Crawford. And the left-hand hitter just did beat him by a half a step. A bang-bang play at first, and you can look if you're watching on television. Boy, it was close. And Crawford hit the bag. Joey hit the side of the bag, and Crawford just ahead of him. Wow. So what Votto did do, he saved a double and a run. Instead, the Dodgers have runners at first and third with one out. Boy, that Votto is something. First and third, one away, and here now Yasiel Puig, who hit into a force play in the first inning. Bailey ready and deals. Fastball swung on and missed. Puig swinging so hard he staggered out across home plate. Yasiel hitting .376. 9 home runs, 22 runs batted in. Covered in dirt from his slide trying to steal in the first inning. Yasiel waiting. Bailey comes right back, and that swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. So a young, aggressive hitter against a young pitcher who throws hard, who has 134 strikeouts. 0-2 the count. Bailey had the opportunity of watching Matt Latos pitch against Puig last night. Puig went 2 for 4, almost 3 for 4. Swings and down he goes. So Bailey took care of him on 3 pitches. A big out, 2 down. Second strikeout for Homer Bailey. And the batter now is Adrian Gonzalez. But Puig going after a pitch up around the letters and never close. So Yasiel is back in the dugout. He has attended class. The Dodgers hope he has learned something. And now Adrian Gonzalez. Now Gonzalez has given Bailey a bad time in the past. 8 hits and 5 home runs. 64 RBIs this year. Bailey ready and deals, and the first pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-1. That's as hard as Bailey has thrown tonight. That first pitch to Adrian was 97 miles an hour. Homer, who went to LaGrange High and then committed to the University of Texas, misses away, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. LaGrange, they tell me, is a small town about halfway between Houston and Austin. One ball and 1 strike. No score, bottom of the third. Dodgers at first and third. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way. Adrian, it's a drive to right, but it's going to be an out. Waiting for it at the other end is Jay Bruce. So for the Dodgers, a wasted opportunity. The fly ball comes with 2 out after Puig had struck out, and it's still no score. Runners at first and third, so into the fourth we go. Heisey, Votto, and Phillips. Chris Heisey's had 3 at-bats, 2 last night, 1 tonight, and he's not only 0 for 3, he has struck out all 3 times. The Chris coming in to get it started. Heisey's one of those fellows in his sophomore year at Messiah College. A friend of his went on the internet and found several major league teams were holding tryout camps nearby. Messiah College is in Grantham, Pennsylvania. That's outside of Harrisburg. So anyway, he went to the tryout camp, impressed the Reds enough, and they picked him in the 17th round. 1 ball and no strikes to Chris. Right-hand hitter. Promptly hits it to right center, slicing, and Ethier gets the glove on it, can't hold it. Backed up by Puig, who gets it in, but too late. So Andre Ethier, thoroughly frustrated, had his glove on the ball but couldn't hold it. And Heisey is into second base with certainly what we assume is a double. Ball was slicing, that made it doubly tough. Ethier reached, hit the leather, kicked away. Puig backed up, but by that time Heisey is into second base. So Heisey in scoring position, and now Votto, Phillips, and Bruce coming up. So the effort by Ethier for naught, and now Joey Votto, the one-man band. Joey, who does it all, has made 3 dazzling defensive plays and slices one deep down the left field line, starting to go foul and back into the stands. Joey Votto and Hanley Ramirez. When you look at the cold hard facts, you find out that Joey has reached base safely in 38 straight games. That includes tonight when he doubled. Hanley Ramirez in 33 straight. So Votto trying to keep it going. 0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Votto very, very quiet. 6'3", 220 pounds. He was born in Toronto. Still lives in the province of Ontario. 2nd round pick by the Reds back in 2002. Trying to pick up Chris Heisey at second base. That's a strike. Joey 1-2. And looking at Votto going head to head against Clayton Kershaw, Joey has 4 hits, then 1 more tonight to give him 5 hits and 2 home runs against Kershaw. One and 2 the count. Low and inside, 2-2. Votto with a double tonight on a 3-1 pitch. Last night he had 2 singles and a stolen base. He made 2 dazzling plays last night. One leaping in the air, the other backhanding one, and while sitting on the grass feeding the pitcher. And now tonight he has doubled and made a sensational stop on the ball hit by Crawford. 2-2. Fouled away. Votto was the MVP in 2010. So his name belongs with some of the great Reds of the past. Ernie Lombardi, Frank Robinson, Johnny Bench, Pete Rose, Joe Morgan, Barry Larkin, and Joey Votto. 2-2 the count. Kershaw set, looks back at second, and the pitch fools Votto, and he strikes out. Votto, whatever he said, just nods in agreement to Alfonso and walks away. So 1 down. By the way, putting in a little extra pressure on the Dodgers. Votto, I think, might have thought he ticked the ball, but he didn't. And the ball handled cleanly by A.J. Ellis. Typical, no emotion, just a few soft words, and Joey goes back in the dugout. The Diamondbacks are just knocking the Padres from pillar to post. It's the 5th inning. Diamondbacks 7 and the Padres nothing. So the Dodgers have to win to stay in first place. Brandon Phillips robbed of a base hit and a possible run batted in. Fine play by Mark Ellis going behind the bag to get him. Joe Morgan hit 152. Brandon has hit 154 home runs to pass Little Joe for the Reds' second baseman most home runs. As a one-hopper flag by Hanley. Gets it over in time for the second out. Heisey advances to third. 2 out, runner at third, and Jay Bruce coming up.
Number 32, Jay Bruce.
Jay Bruce has very interesting numbers, and he's a very tough hitter with runners in scoring position. He has 68 runs batted in, and now from last night has 71. He had 99 last year. Struck out in the second inning. And fouls it back. 0-1. He's very dangerous. He's had 26 RBIs with 2 strikes on him. He has 7 home runs against left-hand pitchers. Jay Bruce. Heisey down the line from third. 0-1. For Clayton Kershaw, by the way, with a runner at third, we always do look it up. Clayton might surprise you. He has 6 wild pitches. That's more than any other Dodger pitcher. By 2. One and 1 the count. 2 out, 4th inning, no score. Check swing on a good fastball. That was 94. And a 1-2 count. For Jay Bruce, 21 of his runs batted in have been up against left-hand pitching. 1-2. Kershaw has struck out 3. Fouled away. Prospects of a great series, and we're just in the game 2 in the 4th inning. Tomorrow night is sold out. Hyun-Jin Ryu will go against Bronson Arroyo. Sunday there are tickets. Chris Capuano and Tony Cingrani. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Slow curveball got him looking. Now last night Zach Greinke threw a slow curve at 70 miles an hour, and Bruce hit it in the pavilion. Tonight Kershaw throws that slow curve at 74, and Bruce can't move, and it's no score. Clayton Kershaw has made 59 pitches. We take a quick look at the Dodgers schedule. The Reds will be here tomorrow night. Remember, it's sold out. And then Sunday afternoon, there are some tickets available. Then Tuesday and Wednesday night, the New York Yankees. Dodgers then will go out on the road. They'll go to Chicago and St. Louis and then come back and play Tampa Bay and the New York Mets. Tampa Bay, by the way, playing very well. They're a half a game behind the Boston Red Sox. They've won 8 of the last 10. Good ball club. Hanley Ramirez did something you rarely, if ever, see. He was called out on strikes in the second inning, and he was angry, and he hollered at Alfonso Marquez, the plate umpire. And then when the inning ended and he was going back to his position, he stopped at home plate, put his glove up over his mouth so that no one else could read his lips. And he talked quietly to Marquez, almost as if, hey, I'm sorry, they make up. And now here he is fouling it away. That's a good thing to do, and psychologically it is a very good thing to do. You do not want to get the plate umpire ticked off at you. Not to say it'll influence his calls, but they are human. 1-2 the count to Hanley Ramirez. 2-2. Bailey trying to keep the ball on top of him, and 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Bailey last July, actually September of last year, had a no-hitter, and then this year in July no-hitted the Giants 3-0. That's going to be a base hit up the middle. So Hanley leads off the fourth with a single, and that'll bring up Andre Ethier.
Next, Dodger center fielder number 16, Andre Ethier.
So Homer Bailey is the owner of the last 2 Major League no-hitters, September of last year, July of this year. And the last pitcher to own that distinction was Nolan Ryan, who had no-hitters in 1974 and 75. Of course, he wound up with 7. The feats occurred only 4 other times. A pitcher owning the 2 most recent no-hitters, Nolan Ryan, Warren Spahn, Allie Reynolds, and of course Johnny Vandermeer. There goes Ramirez, off-speed pitch, and he steals it. He got a break. When you have somebody throwing 97 and you break, chances are you're going to be thrown out. But he took off, and the pitch was 80 miles an hour, and that difference changed to the fastball, and Hanley was able to make it. 1 ball and no strikes to Andre Ethier. Ramirez now is 7 for 7 as Corky Miller gives him one of those side look glances. 1 ball and no strikes. And a drive to right, but Bruce is there. Tagging is Ramirez, and he's going to come. And the throw over, he is safe. Boy, that was a gamble because Jay Bruce has a wonderful arm. But Hanley took off and just did beat the throw. Bruce did everything right, including a perfect throw, and Hanley just did get in there. Ball was juggled, and I think that was the big reason, feeling that Frazier never did have possession of the ball. It's a great throw. You just don't normally run on Bruce at all. The Hanley steals second, takes third on a fly ball to right, and the batter now, A.J. Ellis, who walked. Infield is up. And ball 1. So Hanley Ramirez down the line from third. 1 out. The outfield split. Chu shaded a little bit to right center. So they give Ellis a lot of room in left center field. Ball 2. Waiting on deck, Juan Uribe. Uribe really stung the ball in the second inning, but he hit it right at Chu in center field. Mr. Chu. Dusty calls him that. No one calls him by his first name, Shin Su. He prefers to be called just Chew. Off speed in there. 2-1. AJ checking with Wallach on a 2-1 count. Remembering that stroke he had in Toronto. Clayton, of course, rooting for a run. No score here, bottom of the fourth. Sliced foul, 2-2. So Bailey, who is a strikeout pitcher, he has 2 strikes. He has struck out 134. Two and two. Fouled away. When Bailey pitched his no-hitter, most recently in July of this year, he got to the ballpark the next day and they said he was pretty tired. People said, well, Homer, understandably, I guess you were up celebrating during the night. No, he said, I got up very early this morning to be with my horses. Even though he lives in Cincinnati, he has 2 horses about 25 miles away. Another foul ball. The horses are Dot and Billy. They're in Ross, Ohio. And he just went out and spent the morning with the horses. Among other things, Homer said he got some telegrams from well-wishers after pitching the no-hitter. And among those who sent him telegrams, former teammate Aaron Harang, former Dodger, former teammate Lance Nix, and Oral Hershiser sent him a thank you, a congratulating note. And Roger Clemens, whom he really looked up to. In fact, Clemens works in the Astros organization, and he asked Bailey to get the video of his no-hitter to show to the young pitcher. And AJ is hit by the pitch. Last thing Bailey wanted to do with 2 strikes. Bailey now has hit 5. Just ran it in. It got AJ high up on the left arm. So the Dodgers had first and second and first and third in the 3rd inning. But Puig struck out. Gonzalez lined out to right. Now they have first and third in the 4th inning with 1 out. And Uribe and Mark Ellis back to back. Uribe, who's really been on the upswing for about a month and a half, hitting better than 280. No score, bottom of the 4th. Ramirez at 3rd, Ellis at 1st, and a strike at the plate. 0-1. Bailey throws so hard, but he also has a pretty good 12-6 curveball. He has a changeup, a cutter. But most importantly, the pitch he's really used this year with a great deal of success, a splitter, a split finger fastball. 0-1. There's a good swinging fastball at 96. 0-2 the count to Juan Uribe. Homer Bailey. Homer's Odyssey. From Texas to the big leagues, and here he is in Los Angeles. No balls and 2 strikes. 1-2. Mark Ellis waiting on deck. First and third and 1 out. A.J. Ellis at first has not been involved in a stolen base. Uribe waiting. 1-2. In the dirt, nice block by Corky Miller. 2-2 the count. Corky makes his home in Calamasa. Well, I'm sure he has some friends taking in the ball game tonight. Boy, that's a tough job at 37, but obviously he's in very good shape. 2-2. And just missed ball 3. So now the first thing, they look down to Wallach, Dusty Baker, with his son, who's about 15. Do you remember the World Series when Dusty's little boy was grabbed by J.T. Snow as he scored at home plate? He was maybe 4 years old then. High fly ball. This is going to be interesting. Hanley tags Bruce with that good arm. Here's Hanley, the throw up the line. No tag, but he missed home plate, I think, and he is out at the plate. Corky wouldn't give up. Hanley ran around, missed the plate, and Miller went back and got him. Here's Bruce with that cannon for an arm. There's Corky. Here comes Hanley running around the plate. Now he tries to get back, and he's cut off at the pass, and the tag by Miller. Wow. And at the end of 4, no score. Always talking about ball players. Great play here, great throw, great catch. That was a great call by Alfonso Marquez, the plate umpire. Here's that strong throw by Bruce up the line. You will see no tag, but also no touch of home plate. And now Hanley tries to get in there. He was tagged on the foot, again on the leg, and Marquez in perfect position. Again, take a look. Bruce with that great arm. Here comes Hanley running around the catcher, but he's also around home plate. Tries to get back, and he's tagged out. Wonderful play at the end by Corky Miller. The Hanley was tagged on the kneecap. Homer Bailey right there to watch, and the perfect call by Alfonso Marquez. So we go to the 5th inning. No score. Way to go, Alfonso. Marquez umpiring in the big leagues for 14.5 years. He was born in Mexico. He lives in Arizona. First ever Mexican-born umpire to make it to the major leagues. And after watching him circulate around home plate to make the call, you can understand why. Todd Frazier flied to left, 0 for 1. Ground foul. 2-1 the count. Frazier, Cozart, and then Corky Miller, who, bless his mother's heart, could run for president because his middle name is Abraham. Don't you love that? 2-1 to Todd. Little low and inside, ball 3. Miller could also play Simon Legree, throwing out the widow and the children in the snow because they didn't have the money to pay the rent. With that mustache of his, he certainly could be the villain. Line drive at Uribe. So 1 away on a bullet to Uribe. So with 1 out, Zach Cozart coming up. Cozart, the shortstop. By the way, Cesar Izturis played short last night, and in talking to Dusty before the game, he was saying how great Izturis has been. There's Cesar taking it in. Cozart is the regular shortstop, but boy, to have somebody like Caesar ready to fill in, it's terrific. Cozart, as an infielder, had the Tommy John surgery, but it was not on his throwing arm. That's a strike. Play at second base, and he got the left arm hammered, and he had to have TJ. Went to the University of Mississippi. He's a Tennessee boy. 3-1. And that's in the dirt. Zach Cozart, second-round pick by the Reds back in 2007. This is his 3rd year. He accepted a baseball scholarship, went to Ole Miss. Ground ball to Hanley. Say, time now for our Twitter poll. What would you rather do as a major leaguer? Would you rather throw a perfect game, or would you rather hit 4 home runs? Well, we would ask you to tweet hashtag throw a perfect game or hashtag hit 4 home runs. Keep tuning in. We'll give the results a little bit later on. Here's Corky with that handlebar mustache. More than that. Ground ball slowly. Hanley on the run. Makes the play. So the Dodgers shut him down 1-2-3, and at the end of 4.5 innings, no score. League West leading Athletics take on the Angels. Fox Sports Saturday baseball begins this week at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. Angels trying to get well. They're 10 games back of Oakland. 4 games under 500. Mark Ellis, followed by Clayton Kershaw and then Carl Crawford. Ellis hit a slump in May and June, and he's now bounced right back in July. Ball one. Dodgers left runners at first and third in the third inning with one out, and had the runner out at the plate in the fourth. So we're scoreless here in the bottom of the fifth. 1-1. Stayed inside. This year Bailey has struggled the third time around. Ball three. In other words, in the first two plate appearances, the opposition is hitting .229. Third time around, the opposition is hitting .308. And a good slugging percentage, .477. That's backhanded by Cozart. One away.
For the Dodgers, pitcher number 22,
Clayton Kershaw asked to bunt, got the bunt down in the third inning. Kershaw hitting .149. Clayton has 7 hits, including a couple of doubles, the dramatic home run over the center field fence against the Giants. A total of 4 runs batted in. Strikes out about 25% of the time, so that makes him dangerous. One and one. Fouled off. 1-2. When the Reds come up in the 6th inning, Bailey is due to lead it off, then Chu, and then Heisey. 2-2. Fastball. Clayton got a little bit of a 96-mile-an-hour Swifty. Still 2-2. Couple of Texans battling it out here. One from LaGrange, the other from around Dallas. Fastball slapped foul. I'll say one thing, Bailey is really bearing down on Kershaw. The last 3 pitches have all been 96 miles an hour. Time. Off-speed breaking ball, and that does it. So Kershaw strikes out. Strikeout number 3 for Bailey. And the batter, Carl Crawford, who is 2 for 2. Crawford came into the game against Bailey without ever having seen him. So 2 for 2 tonight. His hit in the 3rd inning is huge. That was the ball that he hit. Looked like it was going down the right field line for a double at least. It would have scored Mark Ellis, except for one thing, a fellow named Joey Votto at first base. That's why we're still scoreless. 0-1. and fouled away upstairs off third. 0-2. Crawford hitting .287, 5 home runs, 16 runs batted in, 2 for 2 tonight. Carl last night had 1 hit a double. He hit 3 line drives and wound up going 1 for 5. So now he's 3 for 7. 0-2. Pulled on the ground by Votto. They finally got a ball by him. So Crawford, a single to right, and that'll bring up Yasiel Puig. Pretty tough to get a ground ball by Votto, but they did that time. Joey actually looked a little tired going after that ball. He was playing Crawford to pull, and he was just far enough from the ball for it to get by. So here's Puig. Puig hit into a force play, struck out. That was a big play in the third out. Came up with first and third, 1 out. Dodgers were hoping for a fly ball, and he went down swinging. Ball 1. Bailey, who throws hard, has 4 wild pitches. 1-0 to Yasiel. Puig hitting .374, 9 home runs, 22 runs batted in. Carl Crawford has stolen 10 out of 13. Off speed, and he missed. Well, now what do you do with a very anxious, aggressive young hitter? Well, you have Adrian Gonzalez on deck. Would you let Puig swing 3-0? I would doubt it. Corky's thinking about it. There goes the runner, then he stops. Yeah, they let Puig swing. So Mattingly hoping to get a little lucky there, figuring Bailey might groove one 3-0. What he really wants is for Puig to just extend the inning and let Gonzalez get up there. Adrian with 8 hits and 5 home runs against Bailey. But it's up to Puig to get him up there. So Adrian waits. Three balls, 1 strike. Little foul up to the right. 95-mile-an-hour fastball that tied Puig up. He's been pitching him hard. Usually the book is hard way inside and then sliders away. So he's got him 2 balls and 2 strikes. Big pitch here. He doesn't want to go 3-2. And again high and inside. So now he does go 3-2. What was it Greg Maddux used to say? Don't sacrifice stuff for location. So let's see what Bailey does. With 2 out, Crawford will be going from first. And there's the breaking ball down and away. So we were waiting for that. So the Dodgers leave another, and at the end of 5, no score. represented at the Hall of Fame. Our good buddy Jaime Jarrín went in, the broadcaster's wing, and Don Sutton went in. Sutton, who holds almost every record for the Dodgers, among other things, 233 victories. He also had the most strikeouts, over 3,500, and he wound up with 324 victories during his illustrious career. Big day for the Hall of Fame, an even bigger day for the Dodgers. Let's go back to this one. No score as we remember Don Sutton's number 20, and that's a strike to Homer Bailey. 0-1. Bailey was up there in what looked like a sure bunt situation. Dusty had him swing away, and he hit into a double play. 0-2 the count. Breaking ball off the plate, check swing. Ted Barrett, no swing. 1-2 to Homer, then Chu, then Heise. That misses. 2-2. Kershaw had made 71 pitches coming into this 6th inning. Fastball sliced down the line, foul. Homer 0 for 1. No runs, 3 hits for the Reds. No runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. It certainly figured to be this kind of a game, Bailey and Kershaw. 2-2. Fastball got him looking. So when in doubt, go to the fastball. 92 miles an hour. For Clayton Kershaw, it would be his 6th strikeout.
Center fielder, number 17, Shin-Soo Choo.
And here's Mr. Chu. Grounded to short, struck out, 0 for 2. One ball and no strikes. Chu with 14 home runs, 33 runs batted in. Slicing foul off to the left out of play. 1-1 to count. Shin-Soo Choo, 5'11", 210. He'll be 31 years old on the 30th. Lives over in Goodyear, Arizona. Fastball lifted to left. Crawford going back to the track. Makes a catch. Chu, when he played for Cleveland, hit as many as 22 home runs. So he has some sock, and Crawford made a nice play. 2 down. And here's Chris Heise. Heise struck out and doubled. Last night, Xavier Paul. Yeah, that's right, Xavier. When Paul was with the Dodgers, he was Xavier. But sometime this year, he told the Reds broadcasters he would like to be called Xavier. And by any other name, hit a home run last night. But here's Heise. Struck out, then doubled in the 4th inning. Got as far as 3rd. Fastball hit deep, but hooking foul way back upstairs. 2nd level. 1-1. Heise is an even 6. Checks in at 210. In case you wonder, Clayton Kershaw has allowed 9 home runs. 1-1. 1-2. Heise from Lancaster and Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. 28 years old. He'll be 29 middle of December. Fastball got him looking. So Heisey has now struck out 4 times in 5 at-bats, but he does have a double. Clayton has struck out 7 and was still locked in. No score. Take a quick Major League update. Arizona pulverizing San Diego. They have 10 runs on 16 hits. Padres, a murmur of protest, have only 2 hits. And the Giants and Cubs locked in scoreless. Edwin Jackson, former Dodger, against Matt Cain. Colorado trying to get back into the fight. They started the day 5 back, and they knocked off Milwaukee 8-3. Tyler Chatwood, good game. So Bailey now against Gonzalez, and ball 1. Bailey coming off 2 tough innings, made 20 pitches in the 4th, 21 pitches in the 5th. 2-0. Homer, as we said, has had some problems the 3rd time around. And for Gonzalez, this is his 3rd at bat. And he promptly smokes it into right field. So Bruce up with it, gets it back. Gonzalez leadoff single to right. And the batter will be Hanley Ramirez. As Matt Kemp watches.
Number 13, Hanley Ramirez.
Fastball down. Gonzalez loves that area and probably bangs it to right. So Adrian is 1 for 3. He has 9 hits now in his career against Bailey. Ramirez struck out single and was out on that big play at the plate. Fastball strike. Still throwing nice and easy. That was 96. 96 miles an hour. 91 pitches in the game. 0-1. And a drive to left. Going back on the ball is Heisey, who's watching it go over the wall. Hanley Ramirez takes him deep. And the Dodgers lead 2-0. Hanley Ramirez, his 11th home run, 33 runs batted in, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. For Bailey, That would be the 11th home run that he has allowed. Ramirez got a breaking ball and hammered it. Line drive, just did clear the wall. Waiting for the carom was icy, but it never came back. So 2-0 Dodgers, and the batter is Andre Ethier. The Clayton stake to a 2-0 lead. He has a lot of work to do in the 7th inning. Joey Votto, Brandon Phillips, and Jay Bruce. Little ground ball to Votto. He will do it himself. Take another look. Hanley Ramirez with that great swing. Raise the leg. Set, ready, and fire. Bingo. You know, you can think about Ted Williams and all the things he had to say about hitting. And I think Ted Williams could sum up his theory in 2 words. Know thyself. And what Ted's theory was, you know you have a strike zone. Fly ball to right, but this time Bruce is there. 2 down. You know there's a sweet spot in the strike zone. You would just love to have the ball in that spot. Then there are sour spots in the strike zone. Pitches that give you a bad time. The good hitter walks up to the plate with one thought in mind. I am looking for the ball in the sweet spot. Now, if the pitcher gets 2 strikes on me in the sour spot, I tip my hat to him. And then I'm just trying to stay alive at the plate. But the theory always was with Ted and with all the good hitters, I go up there looking for the pitch in my spot. 0-1. Then, of course, there are hitters who will just walk up, swing not only at anything in the strike zone, but anything even close to it. But it's the disciplined hitter who really comes up well at the plate. Hanley Ramirez is certainly a disciplined hitter. Batting champion in 09 and swinging just like he did then. Not easy. About as hard as there is to do in sports. Be a good major league hitter. Fastball rolled to short. Cozart. So the Dodgers go down in order, but not before Gonzalez single to right. Ramirez raises that leg, hits the breaking ball over the left field wall, and the Dodgers wind up at the end at 6, leading 2-0. Dodger Baseball on Prime Ticket is brought to you by Farmer Boys. Get an award-winning Farmer's Burger topped with farm fresh veggies, cheese, bacon, and avocado. By Chase. Send money to almost anyone, anywhere with your smartphone. Chase Quick Pay, so you can. And by El Pollo Loco, crazy you can taste. Seventh inning, 2-0 in favor of the Dodgers. Joey Votto looks at a breaking ball strike, and we're underway. Votto has doubled and struck out, 1 for 2. Big slow curveball. He wanted to pull the trigger, didn't do it. Kershaw out in front of him, 0-2. And sliced to left field. Crawford picks it off. So Joey goes out to left, 1 down.
Second baseman,
Brandon Phillips coming up. Phillips, very much of a clutch hitter, but he is 0 for 2 tonight in clutch situations. Votto doubled with 2 out in the first inning. Phillips grounded 1 up the middle, and Mark Ellis went behind the bag and was able to not only get to the ball but throw him out at first. And then he came up in the 4th inning with Heisey at second and grounded to short. 0-1. Back foot slip. Phillips almost went down. 0-1. Brandon Phillips. (32 years old) out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Well, it's interesting. 0 for 2 tonight. He was hitting .407 with runners in scoring position. He was 4th in the league behind Alan Craig, Freddie Freeman, and Paul Goldschmidt. Missed 2 opportunities tonight. However, he had 1 contribution, and there's another. He pokes it inside first down the line. Over to get it is Puig. By the time he picks it up, Brandon is in there with a double. Phillips' last night contribution with 2 out and a no ball 2-strike count. He was hit by the pitch from Zach Greinke, and that brought up Bruce, who hit that 70-mile-an-hour slow curveball for a home run. Well, this time Brandon got a pitch up, hit it inside out, and doubles to right. Four hits now allowed by Kershaw. Here's Bruce, who has struck out twice. Ball 1. Nice save by AJ, and a new ball put in play. .91 pitches so far. We mentioned it last night. Bruce started the year, the first 19 games before he hit a home run. Then he had that 1 home run for 34 games. Well, now he has 21. Bangs it to center, base hit. Phillips will score. Ethier gets the ball back into second, and suddenly it's 2-1 in favor of the Dodgers. And the batter will be Todd Frazier.
Third baseman, number 21, Todd Frazier.
So Jay Bruce bangs one with a line drive single to center. Bruce now has 72 runs batted in. A solid young ball player. Bruce has done well, especially hanging in against left-hand pitching. He's going to have quite a career. With a first-round pick, just starting to come into his own. Been up with the Reds 6 years. Jay Bruce. For Kershaw, facing Brandon Phillips. We were talking about Phillips last night against Greinke. No balls and 2 strikes, hit by a pitch. Kershaw had Phillips, no balls, 2 strikes, and he doubled to right. That's a strike. Frazier fly to left, lined out to third. Oh, and 1 the count. Todd Frazier, the third baseman, followed by the shortstop, Zach Cozart. Ronald Belisario gets up now in the Dodger bullpen. Fastball in the dirt. So there's Belisario for a couple of reasons, to perhaps rescue Kershaw here in the 7th. But Kershaw is also due to bat second in the bottom of the 7th. He's made 94 pitches, and it's 2-1 Dodgers. 7th inning, 1 out. 1-1. Ball 2. Frazier has 10 home runs, so they have to be careful with him. That's in the dirt on a check swing. It's a strike, but it also advances on the wild pitch. So now the tying run is in scoring position with 1 out and a 2-2 count to Todd Frazier. Frazier has 49 runs batted in. So 1 out. Phillips doubled on an 0-2 pitch, that dreaded count. Seems the last year or so we've seen more clutch base hits and home runs on 0-2 counts, where in the old days the 0-2 curve, usually it would be a curveball, you try to hit home plate with it like that. 3-2. Cozart twice grounded to short. He's waiting on deck. Full count to Frazier, 1 out. Bruce at second base. And the pitch up and away, off speed, and Frazier went after it. Might have been out of the strike zone. So 2 out. Ellis and Kershaw putting their heads together. Look at the location up there. Yeah, I think that would have been ball 4. So Frazier disconsolate as he goes back to the dugout. 8 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw. The batter now, Cozart, with Miller on deck. Zach Cozart twice grounded to Hanley Ramirez. Cozart hitting about 240. Fastball strike. Clayton throws 93 on that pitch. Cozart with 8 home runs, 36 runs batted in. On 1. Off speed, and he was way out in front of it. So it went from 93 to 72, and it's a no ball 2 strike count. Oh, and 2. In the dirt. In the minor leagues about 5 years ago, Cozart was beamed. There was a real brawl between Dayton and Peoria. It was so bad the police actually arrested the Peoria pitcher. I mean, it was no fun at all. 1-2 to Zach. Breaking ball hit down to Hanley. So that's 3 times Cozart has hit to his opposite number. So the Dodgers hang on, give up 1, and lead by 1. And at the end of 6.5, 2-1 Dodgers. Dodger Baseball on Prime Ticket is brought to you by AT&T. Rethink possible. By your Southern California Toyota dealers. And by CarMax. Start the search for your next car at CarMax. Bottom of the 7th inning, the Dodgers holding on to what is now a 2-1 lead. Mark Ellis, Clayton Kershaw comes out on deck, so Ronald Belisario has stopped throwing. And then it'll be Carl Crawford. Meanwhile, Homer Bailey ready to go to work. Mark Ellis singled to right, grounded to short, got as far as third in the 3rd inning. Ball 1. By the way, over the years we've talked about numbers and how numbers mean so much to players. I mean, we've heard of players giving another guy expensive watches and all kinds of things so that he could get that particular number. Well, Ted Lilly wore number 29, and Lilly was designated for assignment. So Tim Wallach said, I'll take number 29. Why? That was the number he wore when he was a player. It just means so much to them. And Tim was quite a player. Ellis, a long fly ball. Chu, however, has room. 1 away. Clayton Kershaw coming up. Say be sure to become a Dodger mini plan holder with the 10-game flex plan. Now the flex plan allows you to pick and choose the games you want during the remaining Dodger home schedule. You can choose from bobblehead nights, rivalry matchups, or maybe even your preferred day of the week. So for more information, visit Dodgers.com/mini-plans or give us a call 323-DODGERS. A strike to Clayton, who has sacrificed and struck out. 0 for 1. Fastball fouled away. 0-2. Bailey in the 6th inning got a strike to Hanley Ramirez. It was only the 8th batter where Bailey had started with a strike all night. And with a 0-1 count, the net pitch was hit for a home run. Just missed that fastball. He's still throwing 96. And Hanley sitting back, resting for the moment. Arizona winning easily. Last we saw 10-0. So the Dodgers have to win to stay in first place. Did he? No, he didn't. Though Kershaw strikes out a second time, there would be 5 strikeouts for Bailey. Bailey is due to bat second when the Reds hit in the 8th inning. So it figures this will be his last inning, and they will hit for him. Left-hander Manny Parra and Hoover, the right-hander, down in the pen. And a strike. Crawford singled to center. Singled what would have been a double except for Votto. And then last time up single. So he's 3 for 3. Meanwhile, mercifully, it's over in Arizona. The great indoors becomes an abattoir for San Diego. Arizona 10, San Diego nothing. Randall Delgado, a 3-hit shutout. Little ground ball to Cozart. So Bailey finishes as tough as he started, a 1-2-3 inning. However, as he walks off, he is losing at the end of 7, 2-1. Young Texans going head to head. Homer Bailey and Clayton Kershaw. Not really much to choose from. Bailey's made a couple of more pitches. They've both been brilliant as far as the strikes only, and 1 walk. Both strikeout pitchers. And right now it's 2-1 in favor of Clayton Kershaw. Coming up to bat for Corky Miller is Devin Mesoraco, the veteran catcher. And then, no doubt, they'll have a pinch hitter for Bailey. In looking at Dusty Baker's cards, he has Hanahan, he has Xavier Paul, and he has Robinson. They're his 3 top pinch hitters, so we'll see how he deals them. And it looks like Cesar Asturias is about ready, hanging around at the bat rack. So Robinson coming out on deck. Mesoraco, first string catcher now that Ryan Hanigan is down with a bad wrist. Mesoraco last night 1 for 4, a single to center. Had a big series against the Giants. 0-1 the count. Devin Mesoraco hitting .261. 6 home runs, 28 runs batted in. He's the fella from Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, the home of the groundhog and the shadow and the huge press on that particular day. What do they call him? Punxsutawney Phil. Mesoraco, a first-round pick by the Reds, so he's inherited some big shoes formerly occupied by Hall of Famer Johnny Bench. 2-1 the count. Ground foul. Kershaw now has made 106 pitches on a lovely evening. It was 76 degrees. Temperature certainly means a lot in the course of a ball game, especially back east with the heat and humidity. Clayton's high this year, 132 pitches. Fastball grounded to Uribe. Will they get Mesoraco one away? That'll bring up Derek Robinson.
Attention, please. For the Reds, batting for Bailey, number 15.
Derek is from
Robinson.
Archer, Florida. He is a speedster. In the minor leagues, he stole as many as 68 bases. He was originally drafted by the Royals back in 2006. 5'11", 170, and the Dodgers shorten up. Adrian Gonzalez and Juan Uribe pull up. The rookie doing pretty well, hitting 270. Shows bunt, strike, 0-1. Believe it or not, at 5'11", 170, he was committed to the University of Florida as a football player. He was a cornerback. I mean, that was a great team. That's the team that had, among others, Tim Tebow, Brandon Spikes, Percy Harvin. Those players won 2 national championships. And Derek might very well have been a teammate. Pulled hard right by the drawn-in Uribe. It hits the bag, and Robinson, the tying run, is into second base, standing up with a double. So Derek Robinson, a double with 1 out, and now Chu and Heisey trying to get him home. Hits the bag, goes on by the diving Uribe. That's the thing, when they know how fast you run, they shorten up the corners, and sure enough, he makes them pay the price. Uribe looking at his glove as if it done him wrong. Chu has grounded out, struck out, fly to left, takes a strike. .800 career game. Chu, of course, spent a lot of time over in the American League with Cleveland. 0-1. And a strike. Chu came up to the big leagues with the Mariners and then spent a lot of time with Cleveland. This is his first year with the Reds. Clayton trying to put him away. He's made 112 pitches. Comebacker, a look at second, and then the out at first, and no advancement. So Chu hits back to the box. 2 out in the 8th inning. Chris Heisey coming up. Heisey has to be a hungry hitter. He came into last night's game as a pinch hitter for Paul, struck out, stayed in the game in left field, and struck out again. Tonight, he struck out his first at bat. That's 3 straight. Then he doubled in the 4th inning and struck out again in the 6th. And Mattingly going out to the mound. So you have Heisey, who has struck out 4 of his last 5 at bats, but the one at bat where he failed to strike out, he had the clutch double. So we'll see about Mattingly lifting Kershaw. First question is, do you have anything left? And he better. If he doesn't get Heisey, it's Joey Votto. Clayton having made 113 pitches. The last game against Washington, Kershaw made 97 pitches. So he hasn't made as many as 113 since the middle of June. when he made 114. And as we said, his high, you go back to the middle of May, he made 132 pitches. So it's important. They want to make sure he has something left. Icy 1 for 3, trying to pick up Derek Robinson. And the strike. Among other things, with Heisey, a right-hand hitter, Uribe is deep at third, and Derek Robinson might like the idea of perhaps trying to steal third. He has a good lead. 0-1. Oh, 2. Kershaw trying to put him away. No balls, 2 strikes. Clayton has struck out 8. His control has been marvelous. No walks. 0-2. Ball 1, off speed, way off the plate. That change was 74 miles an hour. Fastball, and he fouls it back. That was 93. Now the two pals put their heads together. 1-2 the count to Chris Heisey. Paid attendance tonight, 51,841. 51,841. Watching a great duel between Kershaw and Bailey. 1-2 to Heisey. Breaking ball hit in the air. It's Ellis calling, and Mark puts it away. No runs, 1 hit. The pinch hit double by Derek Robinson. Kershaw is out of the jam. We go to the bottom of the 8th. 2-1 Dodgers. Dodgers, bottom of the 8th inning. Remember the Twitter poll question? It had to do about, would you rather pitch a perfect game or hit 4 home runs? It was close. But the vote went to pitching a perfect game. And thanks for participating. It's always fun. More fun down on the field. 2-1 Dodgers, bottom of the 8th. Clayton Kershaw has allowed 1 run and 6 hits, struck out 8. He has not walked anybody. And the Reds 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position. Clayton has now made 118 pitches. Derek Robinson, who batted for Bailey and stayed in the game, is in left field. And Mesoraco, who batted for Corky Miller, stays in the game. J.J. Hoover on the mound. And the right-hander from Pittsburgh ready to pitch to Yasiel Puig. J.J. Hoover. His real name is James Allen Hoover. So where the other J came from, maybe you have it. 0-1. Puig hit into a force play, struck out twice. Hitting .372. Good breaking ball and a late breaking ball. Puig took his stride. He was locked, and then the ball broke in. 0-2. Down he goes. So Puig strikes out a third time. 1 out in the 8th inning.
Dodgers first baseman, number 23.
Take another look.
Gonzalez.
Just threw the fastball by him. As far as Hoover is concerned, his 4-seamer can get up to 96. 2-seamer 92. He has a curveball and a changeup. He used to throw a slider. In the middle of the 2011 season, he discarded the slider. High pop fly, shallow right. Bruce coming in, Phillips going out. It is Phillips. So quickly, 2 out in the 8th inning. The difference in the game is Hanley Ramirez, and the difference occurred in the 6th inning. He got what looked like a good breaking ball and hit it right over the left field wall to give the Dodgers a 2-0 lead. It's now 2-1. And by the way, the 9th inning for the Reds, you'll get Joey Votto, Brandon Phillips, and Jay Bruce, the heart of the Cincinnati lineup. Now back. Raise that leg and start to put it down and let it rip. As a kid growing up, I will never forget the left-hand hitting right fielder of the New York Giants, Mel Ott. Ottie would raise that right leg like that. Hit over 500 home runs. 1 ball, 1 strike. I used to try so hard. I would raise that leg, batting left-handed, and something happened. Little pop foul. Here comes Votto. Makes the play. So the Dodgers go very quickly against J.J. Hoover. And we are heading for the 9th, and here come the Redwoods. Votto, Phillips, and Bruce. 2-1 Dodgers. Ramirez at third. Ethier, fly ball to right. Jay Bruce high and up the line. No tag, but no touch of home plate. And Corky Miller puts the glove on Hanley for the out. An exciting play that went the way of the Reds. Dodgers losing 1 run, so Hanley made sure they'd get 2 by hitting his home run to jog around the bases unmolested. But now here come the big Reds: Votto, Phillips, and Bruce. And if anybody gets on, Todd Frazier against Kenley Jansen. Kenley Jansen in his 50th game against Joey Votto. Votto is 0 for 3 in the past. Phillips is 0 for 3 against him. And Bruce is 0 for 2. So the trio 0 for 8, but in the past. Kenley with that remarkable combination, 70 strikeouts and only 9 walks. Votto with 149 home runs in his career, doubled, struck out, flied to left. 9th inning, 2-1 Dodgers. 0-1. For the Reds in 1-run games, they're great at home, 12-5, 4-10 on the road. So in 1-run games, they are 16-15. The Dodgers are 12-11 overall. 7-4 at home, 5-7 on the road. 1-run games, pushing and shove, and we're in the 9th. Joey hitting .321, 16 home runs, 47 runs batted in. Whoa, 1-2.
Let's go, Dodgers.
With a guy like Votto up there, you think about home runs. Though from the pitcher's standpoint, Kenley has allowed 5 home runs. 1-2. Fouled away. Joey Votto, who has shown everyone in the first 2 games why he's an all-star. Votto, 29 years old, 6'3", 220. Has hit as many as 37 home runs. And lines it to left, but Crawford is there. The 1 out in the 9th inning on the line drive. MLB.com at bat is the #1 source for live baseball everywhere you go. It's available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At Bat delivers Dodger baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, and more. So text At Bat to 31826 or visit Dodgers.com for details. Brandon Phillips robbed of a hit when he grounded one up the middle. Nice play by Mark Ellis. Grounded to short and doubled to right on a no-ball 2-strike count in the 7th inning. That pitch from Jansen, 95. On deck, Jay Bruce. On 1. 0-2. No balls, 2 strikes. Foul back. Everybody throwing hard tonight. Daly hit 97. That last pitch from Jansen, 96. Kershaw basically 93 and 94. Phillips, tough to put away. He's only struck out 59 times this year, and he's in there every day. Ball one. Dodgers scored 2 in the 6th. Gonzalez singled, Ramirez homered. Reds got 1 in the 7th. Phillips doubled, Bruce singled him home. And that's it. Two and two. Give you an idea of Phillips last year, 610 at bats and about 650 plate appearances. He struck out 80 some odd times. So you have a contact hitter and a hard thrower. 2 and 2. And fooled him. Bad swing, and Brandon does what he does not normally do. I think what happened on that pitch, it had late life. It's there, and then it moved away, and he started to swing, but it's not his usual swing. He just tried to poke at it, and that late life fastball got him. 2 out, 9th inning. Well, now the batter is Jay Bruce. Struck out twice, single to drive in the only run. Bruce with 21 home runs. Ball one. Bruce 1 for 3, singled in the run in the 7th inning. 2 runs, 7 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 6 hits for the Reds. A superb pitching duel between Clayton Kershaw and Homer Bailey. 1-1. Jay might have gone after a bad ball. That thing appeared to be up out of the zone. 1 ball and 1 strike. Crowd of 51,841. It was sold out. Fouled away. Now the Reds down to their last strike. 1-2. Dodgers have to win this game to stay in first place. Arizona beat San Diego 10-0. So the Dodgers need this one to stay a half a game in front. And boy, they have the crowd with them. Got him. Kenley Jansen strikes out 2 in the 9th inning. Hanley Ramirez hits the home run with a man aboard, and the Dodgers win a thriller 2-1. 2-7-0 for the Dodgers, 1-6-0 for the Reds. Hanley Ramirez, his dramatic home run, his 11th of the year with a man aboard. 33 runs batted in. Kenley Jansen nails down the 10th victory for Clayton Kershaw. Jansen, by the way, made 15 pitches in striking out 2 and retiring the side in order. All right, they've split the first 2. The next 2 figure to be just as tough. Tomorrow night, it'll be Hyun-Jin Ryu on the mound for the Dodgers. And for Cincinnati, their veteran right-hander, a 9-game winner. That would be Bronson Arroyo. Ryu, by the way, is 8-3. And among other things tomorrow night, it will be fun watching Ryu pitch to Mr. Chu. Well, stay tuned for Dodgers Live coming up next. Good night, everybody.